This is Kathy Arabare, and this is my final presentation project for EDUC 526, Azusa Pacific University. A funny thing happened while I was blissfully enjoying being a wife and a mother. My babies grew up and they started going to school, and I went with them. I volunteered regularly in my oldest daughter's kindergarten class, and I got hooked. One teacher in particular told me once that I should just admit it to myself that I was a true teacher at heart, because everyone else already knew it, and I can still remember her saying that. A few years later, I started subbing at my daughter's school. It was convenient for my family and offered a little extra income, and I got my feet wet with teaching. But then it happened. The school asked me to do a long-term sub-assignment in kindergarten. I agreed, and God changed my heart. I fell in love with the kids and learned of their home lives and their families and built lasting relationships that exist to this day. After completing that assignment, I was confident that God was calling me to the ministry of teaching. The next step meant getting my teaching credential. That's when I stumbled onto APU Marietta. I'd seen it from the freeway and knew it was close to home, which meant it was convenient for both me and my family. When I walked in for the very first time, I was greeted by a friendly woman named Nori. She's never forgotten my name. The APU staff was welcoming and helpful, and they helped make the decision easy for me to begin the very next term. It made sense to combine the teaching credential with a master's program, but I wasn't sure which program I wanted. When I thought about sitting in future job interviews with younger, well-qualified candidates, I realized I needed to be more competitive. My greatest weakness was my lack of skill in the area of technology. So when I heard that I could get a master's degree there in digital teaching and technology, I knew I had an opportunity to turn my greatest weakness into a strength. So I went for it. The first class I took was EDUC 515, Evolving Educational Technologies. This class taught me how to create and interact with blogs, how to utilize screen captures, and how to set up my very own classroom website. Perhaps most importantly, I can now sync my own iPod, a job my teenager daughter did for me for years. I then took EDUC 512, Instructional Applications of Productivity and Software. This class taught me to be more efficient in the softwares I was already using, like Excel and Microsoft Office. I even learned how to make and manipulate my own WebQuest, which is a must in today's classrooms. Next was EDUC 514, Digital Video in the Classroom. This class was amazingly practical. I've been shooting video of my kids since video cameras became available, but I was always disappointed in the grainy quality and poor shots I was getting. This class taught me how to plan my shots, storyboard large projects like this one, and shoot films that I could be proud of. Most importantly, I now have enough knowledge in this area that I can integrate video learning and assessment projects into my classes. In EDUC 522, Learning in the 21st Century, I had a fabulous instructor that got me thinking about this particular project. She helped me develop a wonderful unit plan employing Gardner's multiple intelligences as well as Bloom's taxonomy. This class really opened my eyes to reaching each individual student and identifying and addressing their learning style. I know I'm a better teacher for taking this class. And finally, here we are at the finish line with EDUC 526, the capstone experience. This is where we put the pedal to the metal and show off all the cool stuff we've learned. I'll begin by explaining my action research project. I decided to attack a real-life problem I have with being a teacher. I can't spell. Oh, you might be saying that that's no big deal. After all, we do live in a digital world of spell checks and word processing. But I find myself embarrassed to walk away from the whiteboard in order to check the spelling of typical instructional words, such as acquire or column or medieval. My inability to spell common words correctly has become a major source of insecurity and stress in my everyday enjoyment while interacting with students in the classroom environment. The problem this research project will be addressing is my below basic ability in the area of spelling. I decided to employ the strategy of learning the 100 most commonly misspelled words according to the list found on mydictionary.com. Each word on the list is accompanied by a mnemonic pill that is to be taken daily with each new word. The mnemonic pill is intended to help me remember and retain the correct spelling for these commonly misspelled words. This strategy is intended to increase my ability to remember the proper spelling of each word and therefore reduce dictionary searches of such words by at least 50%. Step 1 was to measure the baseline data. This was humbling and humiliating experience. I really can't spell. After counting up the misspelled words daily at work for 2 weeks straight, I allowed one of my students to administer the pretest words. Wow, I really can't spell. Now comes the good part. Over the next 4 weeks, I learned 5 new words with the mnemonic memory aid or the pill each day until I learned the entire list. Ready for the results? The post-tests say it all. I'm proud to report that my spelling ability went from a dismal 45% correct, yep, that means I missed more than half of the words the first time around, to an astounding 90% correct. Those little mnemonic pills worked, and now I can even spell mnemonic. Another major area of learning in this degree program was integrating technology into my own unit plan. I've always been fascinated by the presuppositions most of us have about the subjects of art and math. Most people consider themselves either terrific or horrific artists, with very little gray area in between. Much the same can be said about the area of math. They both seem to be areas that you either love or hate. And when these subjects have been studied, it's often considered a right brain function to access the creative spirit needed for most artistic ventures, and a left brain function to excel in the area of mathematics. In an attempt to help students become more well-balanced in these areas, I decided to play with this idea of exclusivism within these subjects and meld them together in my unit entitled Artistic Approaches to Teaching Math. As you can see, the California content standards addressed in this one unit are quite extensive. I included the visual art standards as well because I believe them to be just as valuable as those of geometry. The content of the unit plan is more holistic than most, allowing for a cooperative learning environment working in groups of about 6 students. They learn the math concepts together, following the explicit directions from the instructor. Then after that, they need to rely on each other's abilities and talents. The atmosphere is explorative and interactive, with the utilization of multiple websites and web quests as their guides. At the completion of the unit project, each group of students will have the opportunity to peer evaluate each other's projects, making use of supportive learning etiquette. I hope you've enjoyed taking a quick peek at my educational journey with Azusa Pacific University. I now enjoy a master's degree in digital teaching and technology, something I thought I could never do.